My name's Victoria Buffalo Robe. I was hired by VAF to steward the Chén chenstway garden associated with the Aboriginal Mother Centre Association. And I'm Cree First Nations from Saskatchewan. I'm also Welsh, Irish, and French. And I have a deep reverence for Mother Earth. I'm so blessed to be able to steward this garden. I also work at Britannia Community Centre and steward their Indigenous garden and their annual garden, Schwallowen and the Transformed Life garden there. And so far, we've done a lot of designing and planning to begin putting annuals inside the food forest that VAF has created here. So some agroforestry going on, which is really rich. And I'm doing some workshops as well with them for self-care workshops with some simple ingredients that you can get at grocery stores mixed with botanicals, and kind of reflects my company Holistic Buffalo, where I make botanical skincare and by hand, small batch. And I am super pleased to be part of this organization. I'm really excited to see what happens this summer and what we're growing, and more workshops and learning more. Say that I'm a gardener. I think that we never and could possibly never stop learning this skill. This is an amazing journey of learning permaculture. As I understand it, it's just a lived experience. So a little bit more about the annual garden within the food forest, all of these native plants. I was trying to think of a way where this garden would tie into programming in a charity where Indigenous people had access to land. And what would that look like? So I came up with this idea with a friend actually over dinner to create a moose stew garden. We would call it a moose stew garden, in which case we would plan to have moose stew in November, and that would be the goal, in which case we would have to backtrack in terms of what would we want in the moose stew and how would we have to start that, agriculturally engineering the ingredients. In which case we could start in March, but at some point we would harvest food and then have to preserve it. And so we would blanch and freeze some carrots, and that would be ready for November. And then we would maybe, preserve or harden off some squash, or learn how to cold storage some potatoes, and do some food skills in between, and canning and preserving, to ensure that by November we had enough for our moose stew. In which case we would celebrate and share that moose stew, and maybe even can the moose stew, and have that shared experience of the patience and the time and the planning it would take to grow it, to preserve it, to coordinate all of those things, and then to celebrate in the end. And that is a huge piece of Indigenous culture, to share food and celebrate in the end.